All right, Canaries, welcome to the dating series, episode 1. The inspiration here came from a multitude of emails, messages, and friendships of mine. So there's a lot to unpack. And the cool thing about that is this is my podcast, so I can do as many episodes as we need to get through it. And it's kind of fun because what I'm understanding is that we're all in the same, what feels like a sinking ship. Quick note before I start, we are not doctors, therapists, or professionals over here. We're just people sharing real life experiences and maybe poking a little fun at ourselves along the way. So take what resonates and leave what doesn't. I want to start this out a little different because if you are dating right now, there's a good chance that you are fucking tired. Like tired, exhausted. I mean, confused, frustrated, second guessing yourself, maybe a little pissed off. I know that I am sometimes. It comes in waves. You're wondering if it's you, if it's them, if it's just what dating is now. And I hear it from both sides, both genders. I hear from men who are saying, I'm trying, I'm showing up, I want something real. I can't even get a chance like to get on the radar. And then I hear from women who feel like, yeah, there's plenty of options to pick through, kind of, right? Like there's a lot of matches, but none of them feel right. And so I don't even know where to start. And I get overwhelmed and I don't do anything. And both of those feelings are so real and so valid. And obviously there's many more versions of how dating makes us feel, but realistically I have to build this in sections, right? So bear with me. But one thing I do know for sure is that both sides are really frustrated. Both sides are putting themselves out there in different ways, but the experiences are completely different. And that's what hit me. It feels like we're not really playing the same game when it comes to dating. Not in a cliche way, not men are from Mars, women are from Venus, even though it feels like that. I mean, we're on the same apps, looking at the same people and having completely different experiences. So I started paying attention to behavior, not intention, but behavior. I went on a date with this guy and we were talking about this stuff and he told me, yeah, I just swipe yes on everyone. And my response was a little shocked. I'm like, everyone? But you just open the gates for everyone? And he's like, it's a numbers game. It's easier and I can get the matches and then filter them out later. That's probably one of the most unhinged dating strategies I've ever heard of. But then I paused and I thought about it and I was like, this actually makes sense because most men are just trying to be seen. They're trying to get through that first gate, a match, a conversation, an opportunity. So they cast this wide net and then they figure it out later. And then you've got women, right? They're doing the exact opposite. We're not swiping on everyone. We're conducting full investigations, like CSI dating edition. Like we zoom in, enhance. What's in the background of that photo? Does he have a tan line on his ring finger? Like I had a guy send me a photo of his cat at the foot of his bed and I started to zoom in. And I'm going to sound crazy when I say this, but he had these big bay windows behind the foot of his bed behind the cat. And I could see like the reflection. So I zoomed in and I saw a photo of what looked like a couple on the nightstand. And so I asked him, who's in the photo you keep at your bedside? This guy was so confused. I sent a photo of my cat. And I'm like over here, Law and Order style, like answer the question, sir. And I know girls are laughing because a lot of us have ended up accidentally conversating with someone who ended up having a wife or was still super involved with their ex and you didn't know it till you got the hey girl message, right? So my traumatized ass is trying to find the weapon before the bullets are even loaded. So who's in the photo? In the bay reflection. And luckily for me, this guy had dated crazy before. So he was fine. And he answered me and it turned out he was actually visiting his parents. And this was in the spare room of his parents' house. And it was a photo of his parents when he was younger. So embarrassed? Yeah, a little bit. But that's what we're doing over here. Because guys, we don't give a fuck about the size of your biceps. Well, I mean, sure, maybe later on. Maybe later on I want to swing on your arm like I'm fucking Jane experiencing the jungle for the first time on Tarzan. But not until I trust your word. Not until I know that those biceps aren't going to be a weapon that I feel the wrath of later, you know? Because for us, it's not just do I like him? It's is this safe? Is this stable? Is this something I even want to walk into? Is this someone I'm going to have to explain and argue about like basic treatment? Because we've lived through these things. We've learned these things and we're trying not to repeat them. Speaking of repeat, something my therapist had me do was make a list of positive and negative traits that all of my exes have in common. Do it. Just do it. Trust me. And before you do it, prepare for your feelings to be very hurt. Okay. I won't share mine today because it's relatively fragile, but like for yourself, do it. Okay. Just mental note that. Anyway, this is where a lot of things clicked for me about dating in the beginning stages is men are trying to be seen, have an opportunity, a chance, and women are trying to make sure that they're safe before they hand an opportunity. It means we're not really on the same goal. So now you've got one side moving really fast and then one side moving extremely careful. One side's feeling like they're starving and the other side's feeling like they're drowning. And neither side feels good. And then we got to add communication into it, right? Because we have to fucking talk to each other at some point. I had this conversation with a really, really close male friend of mine, and he's pretty slick. He's got the dating thing down. And he tells me, he goes, no one responds to how was your day? You got to be funny and say some off the wall shit. And I'm like, okay, yeah. Because if someone messages me, how was your day? I'm probably not responding because you don't give a fuck about my day, you know? And I don't care about yours either. We don't know each other. So if I have 100 of how was your days, it's just noise. So when I get one of those how was your day messages from a stranger, it pings that exhaustion and I just shut down the whole app. But those funny guys, I have ended up in a couple bedrooms just because they made me laugh. And we can probably parallel safety to playful, but that's also a later topic. But yeah, funny guys get ass. And luckily now I've had enough therapy to have a tiny bit, not a lot, but a tiny bit better of a filter system. But funny is my jam. So he wasn't wrong there. But then he said something even crazier to me. He goes, I talk like a woman. And this is a pretty manly guy. Biceps bigger than my head. Like, I don't want to out him, but like pretty tough guy. He said, I talk like a woman. I said, excuse me? And he goes, I watch how women respond and I use that on other women, like a copy and paste method. You girls like talking to each other, not us. It's like an algorithm for response. Talk like a woman, she'll reply. I just sat there like, you evil genius. And I wanted to argue or at least be offended. Like my knee-jerk response was to be offended because now I'm second guessing every conversation that I had recently with a man that I actually enjoyed. But then I realized he's not wrong because I noticed something in myself too. When I communicate in a more detached, more surface level, less depth, like I have a really overthinking brain if I don't let that out of its saddle. You know, men do respond more and more frequently. And then they start to think they like me, like a lot. You don't like me. You like what feels familiar to you. You should probably date your homie. But we're all doing it, right? This guy friend of mine, me, you guys, we're all adjusting, adapting, strategizing. We want to be chosen. We want to be good enough. But instead of asking, do I even like you? Because this is where most people go, okay, so how do I fix that? What do I say? What works? What gets responses? How do I become someone worth love? And we'll get into all that further on the series, I promise. But that's not phase one. Phase one is not your profile. It's not your pictures. It's not your opening line or where do we find these unicorns? Phase one is you. Because beyond all of this, you have to ask, is my life even set up for what I say I want? Because if you want something stable, you want something grounded, you want something healthy, but your environment, your habits, and your patterns don't reflect that, you're not building a life that can hold it. And even if it were to show up, right, your magic person, even if it were to show up for you and you don't like yourself, you're not going to trust it anyways. Because whatever environment you're living in now, that's what you're going to attract more of. And you're holding up a mirror. And I hate this part. I hate it. You're holding up a mirror. So the real question is, do you like your reflection? Because if you don't, you're either going to reject people who reflect it, or you're going to accept them and then resent them for it. And that's where things kind of get messy. Because if you don't like you, no amount of validation, no amount of attention, no amount of they chose me is ever going to fix that. And worse, you're going to bring that connection into every connection. You know, you're going to question it, you're going to sabotage it, or expect someone else to carry the weight of something that you haven't figured out yet. And that's not fair to them either. So phase one is making sure that when you look in the mirror, you like who you see. I know that sounds cheesy, but just trust me on this. You got to make sure you like who you see, that you respect them, that you trust them. And if you don't like you, if you don't trust you, that's where you start. For me, a really good root system in all this was learning my values. So if you can't list your values, that's a really good place to begin, because your values are kind of like a roadmap to your life and, well, your entire nervous system. So when your actions align with your values, you feel more grounded, more certain, less anxious. Because when you understand your values, you know you're moving in a direction that actually means something to you. It's guided through a kind of goal set, or at minimum, a moral compass. And when they don't, you feel that too. You feel that tension, you feel that guilt, you feel that confusion. And that's all information. That's all data points that your nervous system is trying to send your brain. So build your map, right? Look at your life and ask, do my actions align with the things that I say that I want? Because whether you want a wife or a husband or a one-night stand or just some more experiences, all of that is irrelevant. Anchoring to your values is what lets you move through any phase of your life without the heaviness, without the guilt, without constantly questioning yourself or blaming other people, because now you know what you're offering. And more importantly, you know what you're asking someone else to step into. Like looping back to my shadow episode, it's part of that. Personally, I won't be sunshine or roses all day, every day. If you dated me, you know that. But if I can communicate what it looks like when my shadow steps up, it's easier to move through it without drowning the people around me. The people that I am seeing or that love me or around me, not to personalize it as much. I won't go into it now, but I'm a runner. So before we talk about matches, before we talk about strategy, before we talk about what works, phase one is you. Phase one is you. So maybe go online, find a values test, and give yourself something to anchor to. I keep mine so I can stay grounded to them. It keeps me from setting anything on fire. Or throwing stones at exes that are likely hurting as much as I am. And like, I'm serious. Really look in the mirror. What do you see? I remember dating this guy and he was staying the night and he asked me for a phone charger. And I hopped out of bed and I got the charger and I got it plugged in and I got him all set up because when I like you, acts of service are my jam. I'm like more than happy to do anything really. So I jump up and I get him all set up and he goes, "You're the best." And I go, yeah, I am. And he goes, it's not as cute when you say it like that. And I looked up at him and I said, "I like you." I go, "I really like you." He goes, "What?" I go, "I really like you. Do you like you?" And he goes, "What? Yeah, I like me." And I said, "Good. You should. And sometimes you should say it out loud so you don't forget that." And then he kind of looked at me and I said, "It took me a really long time to like me. So sometimes I say it out loud and I'm accepting your compliment right now." And he paused and half smiled. I don't know if it landed or not, but I remember the moment. And a little bit further along the line, I learned more about myself. And I know that in some ways that response was overcompensating, right? Being like, yeah, I am, like doubling down on the confidence. But it's still a good practice point to start at because now I've said it enough times that I don't have to double down all the time. Sometimes I still do, but it's really important to be like, I like me, to tell yourself, I like me, or I like who I'm becoming. And here's why I like me. And then here are the things that I don't necessarily love about myself too. We can focus on the things we don't like about ourselves once we like ourselves first. It's easier to swallow. Like I could have behaved differently in this moment type things. But I think it's really beautiful to just constantly see yourself as this live ecosystem, to think of your body and your mind that way. Because if you're a live ecosystem, you're never locked into a mistake or any performance, right? So yeah, go look in the mirror and say, "I like me," and make sure that you do it a lot before you go on dating apps or go on dates or put yourself out there. Make sure that you're happy with the person that you are bringing to the table. Because if you're not, you're going to pick the other person apart or you're going to make them suffer for the things that you're insecure about. And we don't want to do that to each other either. So the men that just want to be seen and understood, I hear you. The women that want to be safe, I got that too. And everyone in between, keep learning your patterns, keep choosing yourself. And when it's safe, don't be afraid to sing. Till next time, Canaries. Thanks for listening.